So today we're looking at a stack of sources that covers a topic
Hmm?
that most people think they have a handle on. But the data suggests we're actually looking at a massive blind spot. We're talking about Iran. And if you're just casually following the news, you likely have a very, monochromatic image in your head.
Right. Usually that image is defined by geopolitical tension, maybe sanctions, or just endless arid deserts. That's the headline version.
Right.
But the material we've pulled for this deep dive, and this includes everything from documentary notes to some really dense geological surveys, it presents a thesis that just completely contradicts that image.
The argument here is that Iran isn't about uniformity at all. It's defined by paradox.
Exactly. It's a geographical contradiction.
Just like the geography is almost at war with itself.
It is. The sources make a compelling case that Iran is one of the most ecologically diverse places on Earth, which is, that's not something you typically hear.
The scale alone is deceptive. I was looking at the map comparisons in the file, and it's the 17th largest country in the world.
It's huge.
Yeah, to put that in perspective, you could fit France, Germany, and the UK inside its borders and still have room left over.
And that massive surface area, combined with the topography, creates what geographers call the Four Seasons phenomenon.
And just to be clear, they're not talking about the hotel.
No, not the hotel. They mean that at the exact same moment in time, you can experience four distinct climates. It all depends on where you are, your latitude, your altitude.
Well, the altitude delta helps there, too. You've got Mount Damavand, Asia's tallest volcano, clocking in at over 18,000 feet. That's serious alpine territory. You can literally ski there.
Right. And while you are freezing on those slopes, maybe 800 miles south in the Persian Gulf, people are swimming in tropical waters.
Yeah.
The country is this incredible bridge between the temperate north and the tropical south.
So our mission today is to map that diversity. We're going to look past the political curtain and dive into the extremes.
From the hottest surface temperatures on the planet to ancient rainforests.
And the engineering required to survive between them.
It's a story of adaptation, really, both for nature and for humans.
Let's start with the extreme heat, because desert is the stereotype. But I don't think people realize just how extreme the Lut Desert is. The NASA data in the report is startling.
It is. The Dashti Lut, it holds the record for the highest land surface temperature ever recorded on Earth. NASA satellites clocked it at 159.3 degrees Fahrenheit.
159, that's 70.7 Celsius.
Yeah.
We need to be clear on that metric, though. That's the land surface temperature, not the air temperature.
Correct. That's the temperature of the ground itself. If you touched a black rock there at midday, you would burn your hand. Instantly.
You could fry anything on it.
In seconds.
Okay.
It's significantly hotter than Death Valley, hotter than the Sahara.
And visually, it doesn't even look like a standard sand dune desert. The images of the callouts, they look almost like architecture.
They're called yardings. Massive ridges carved by wind erosion over thousands of years. The wind there is just relentless, so it scours the earth into these long corridors. It looks like an abandoned city on Mars.
And for a long time, biologists assumed it was just a dead zone.
An abiotic zone, yeah. But the new surveys mention life. Microbes clinging to salt, nomadic groups on the periphery. It's an incredible testament to resilience.
But then, if you pivot north toward the Caspian Sea, the environment just flips 180 degrees.
You're in the Hyrcanian forests.
This was the biggest surprise in the snack for me. We're talking about rainforests that predate the last ice age.
By a long shot. These forests are estimated to be 50 million years old. They are older than the Amazon.
So they're effectively biological museums.
Living fossils is the term botanists use. During the glaciations that wiped out most of the broadleaf forests in the northern hemisphere, the Caspian Sea acted as a temperature buffer. It protected this little pocket.
So when you're there, you're seeing the world as it looked 50 million years ago.
It's pretty close. It's jarring to think you have a dinosaur-era jungle and the hottest place on Earth within the same national borders.
And not just plants. Leopards still roam there.
Yes, Persian leopards. The whole atmosphere feels more like a jungle in Southeast Asia than what you'd imagine for the Middle East.
Okay, let's move from the land to the water. The outline highlights the Persian Gulf, specifically the islands, and the descriptions of Keshem and Hormuz. They read less like travel guides and more like science fiction.
Keshem is the largest island in the Gulf. It's about 80 miles long, but it's the geology that's the draw. It's incredibly raw. You have the Valley of the Stars.
Where the local folklore says a star fell and shattered the earth, right?
That's the myth. The reality is just wind and rain erosion on soft sediment, but looking at the formations, you can see why the myth persists. It looks violent. Sudden.
And on the same island, you have Chaku Canyon, which is a lesson in hydrology.
The gorge with the wells. The rock is porous sandstone, so flash floods have carved these deep holes and corridors into it. It acts as a natural cistern, collecting fresh water in a saltwater environment.
But if Keshem is geological sculpture, Hormuz Island seems like geological chaos. The notes call it the Rainbow Island.
And that's not hyperbole. It's a salt dome, a diapir. All these minerals, iron, salt, gypsum, are pushed up from the depths, creating these psychedelic hills of purple, yellow, ochre, and red.
The red beach photos are unreal. The waves look like blood.
That's the high iron oxide content. The soil is basically rust. But here's the detail that usually stops people in their tracks.
The edible soil. Had to double-check this source. They use the soil as a spice.
They do. It's called gelac. They use it in sauces and for baking bread. It adds a kind of tartness and color. It's rich in minerals.
That is the ultimate definition of locally sourced.
It really is. Surviving off the land in the most literal sense.
Speaking of survival, that brings us to the next section. Engineering. Because living in these desert cities like Yazd, that requires physics.
Yazd is a masterclass in vernacular architecture. It's one of the oldest cities on Earth, and they solved the problem of 100-degree heat thousands of years before the AC unit.
This is where the badgers come in, the wind catchers.
Right. They look like decorative towers on the skyline, but they're functional. They're designed to catch any breeze, even hot air, and funnel it down into the house.
And what's brilliant is they often pass that air over a pool of water at the bottom.
Exactly, evaporative cooling. As the water evaporates, it absorbs heat, cooling the air. It's passive thermodynamics. It creates a natural ventilation loop.
But cooling is useless without water. And this is where I think the real genius lies. The qanats.
The qanats are arguably one of the most sophisticated engineering feats of antiquity. We're talking about underground aqueducts that transport water from mountains out to the arid plains.
And the key here is the slope, right?
Yeah.
Because they're moving water purely by gravity.
Correct. No pumps, no electricity, and they had to dig these tunnels by hand, sometimes for 40 or 50 miles. The challenge is the gradient. Too steep, the water erodes the tunnel. Too shallow, it stagnates.
So they had to calculate these incredibly subtle gradients with primitive tools underground.
Yes, and they got it right. Some of these systems are 2,500 years old and are still functioning today. They are the reason civilization exists in that part of the world. It's a hidden circulatory system beneath the desert.
Yazd also ties into the spiritual history. It's the center of Zoroastrianism.
Right, the ancient pre-Islamic religion of Persia. There's a fire temple in Yazd where the sacred flame has allegedly been burning for over 1,500 years.
Wow. But if Yazd is about building on the desert, the village of Kandivon is about building into it.
Kandivon is fascinating. It's a troglodyte village cave dwellers carved into volcanic rock cones.
It looks a lot like Cappadocia in Turkey.
Visually, yes. But the key difference is that Kandivon is still a living community. It's not a museum. People live there. They have retrofitted these 700-year-old caves with electricity, plumbing, even Wi-Fi.
And there's a practical reason for that, isn't there? The rock itself.
Thermal insulation. The volcanic rock is incredible at thermal regulation. It keeps the interior cool in the summer and retains heat during the snowy winters. It's highly energy-efficient housing provided by nature.
So we've covered natural extremes in survival engineering. But we can't talk about Iran without these civilizational heavyweights.
You have to look at the triangle of Shiraz, Persepolis, and Isfahan. This is where the Persian identity really solidifies.
Shiraz is framed in our sources as the soul of the culture, the city of poetry.
It is. It's the resting place of Hafez and Sa'adi, two of the most significant poets in the Persian language. But visually, Shiraz is famous for its manipulation of light.
The Pink Mosque.
The Nasir al-Mulk. The architects designed the stained glass specifically to catch the morning sun. It projects this kaleidoscope of color onto the Persian rugs inside. It's an ephemeral art piece. It only exists for a few hours a day.
And then there's the Shah Cheragh Shrine, which goes for infinite reflection.
Mirrors. Millions of tiny cut mirror tiles covering every inch of the interior. It fractures light in every direction. It's designed to be overwhelming, to dissolve the structure into pure light.
But for sheer scale and political weight, we have to talk about Persepolis.
The ceremonial capital of the Achaemenid Empire. The first true superpower. Under Darius the Great, the empire stretched from Ethiopia to India. Persepolis was built to intimidate and impress.
The reliefs on the walls show delegations from all those nations bringing gifts.
You notice they're bringing gifts, not shackles. The propaganda of Persepolis was about diversity within the empire, but of course it met a violent end.
Alexander the Great.
330 BCE, he burned it to the ground. Whether it was accidental or calculated revenge is still debated. But the fire actually preserved thousands of clay tablets by baking them, which gives us our administrative records of the empire today.
From ancient ruins to the Islamic Golden Age, we have Isfahan. Isfahan is half the world.
It was a boast about the city's beauty in the 17th century. The Nashi Jahan Square is one of the largest public plazas in the world, but again, the engineering stands out. The Shah Mosque has that famous echo chamber.
The acoustic dome, that's not just a legend.
No, it's physics. It was designed so the imam could speak at a normal volume, and the geometry would amplify and reflect the sound to the entire congregation. No microphone needed.
And the Shiklat Fala Mosque has that solar clock feature.
The peacock's tail. As the sun moves, the light catches the tiles in the dome to create a tail shape that expands and contracts. It's just perfectionism in design.
Let's fast forward to the modern era. We head north to the capital, Tehran. The description shifts from ancient beauty to modern chaos.
Tehran is a beast. 13 million people. The traffic is legendary, the energy is intense, but it's the beating heart of modern Iran, a city of sharp contrasts.
The notes mention the visual juxtaposition 19th century bazaars next to brutalist high-rises, and the backdrop is dramatic.
The Alborz Mountains, they wall off the city. On a clear day, you can see the snow-capped peak of Demavan towering over the smog. It's quite a sight.
And hidden in those mountains are the castles of the assassins.
Alamut Castle. This is where history bleeds into legend. The assassins, the Nizari Ismailis, were a sect in the 11th century that used these impregnable mountain fortresses to project power.
And Redkhan Castle.
That's further north, in the jungle. A massive military complex with 42 towers hidden in dense forest. It snakes along the mountain ridge, showing just how difficult this terrain was to conquer.
Before we wrap up, there's one environmental note here that acts as a bit of a warning. Lake Urmia.
This is the tragedy of the set. Lake Urmia was once the largest saltwater lake in the Middle East. In recent years, it has lost about 80% of its surface area.
That is a catastrophic collapse.
It is. A combination of climate change, damming, agricultural overuse. The water that's left often turns blood red due to algae blooms. It's a stark reminder that even a landscape this diverse is fragile.
So let's pull back and look at the full picture. We've gone from 159-degree deserts to ancient rainforests, from the edible island to the complexity of Tehran.
It really dismantles that monolithic view of the country.
And we barely touched on the contributions to daily life mentioned in the text algebra, the concept of the paradise garden, even the technology for ice cream.
Storing snow in the desert to make saffron ice cream, that's the Persian legacy in a nutshell, adapting to the environment to create something refined.
So what's the takeaway here? Why does this deep dive matter?
I think it's about the cost of isolation. Iran has 27 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. That's more than Egypt, more than Japan, more than the US. Yet it receives a tiny fraction of the global tourism.
We're missing a huge chapter of the human story.
Exactly. When we let political headlines dominate the narrative, we lose sight of the civilizational depth underneath. There is a whole world there that is effectively hidden in plain sight.
A paradox worth exploring.